welcome to my channel, Haylee Marie Vintage. Today I am going over my plans for my channel for this year. I am filming this back in 2023, but happy 2024. Exciting, I guess, to have made it through last year, because boy was it a doozy. I went through my last year's sewing projects and all that stuff in a video. So with that, I am going to now dive into my plans for this future upcoming year. I know, I have a spreadsheet. It's ridiculous. This is the life I live. I live a life of spreadsheets. They just help me keep my life together. There's gonna be basically 3 portions of this video. I'm gonna kick it off with sewing goals, I'm announcing my Patreon and Ko-Fi monthly subscriber whatever thing for this video, and then I will go into my overall channel goals for the year. So those are the 3 little buckets we have. I thought I'd start us out with sewing because most of this channel is about sewing. So my goal this year, which I failed on last year by I think like 5 or 6 yards, is to use more yardage than I buy. I would actually like to actively end up pretty far in the negative. I think really my ideal goal would be negative 100 yards because I need to start sewing through some of my stash. My stash has gotten too big, gotten out of control. I need to de-stash a bunch, which I'm gonna do I think in next week's video or the week after. I think it's 2 weeks away actually. I need to just take a look at my fabrics, stuff that I got towards the earlier part of my sewing career. This is not a career, because there were just like a lot of things that I was buying because I didn't know what I wanted, and now I feel like I very much know what I want in fabrics and all that, so I'm just gonna try to bring it to sew way more fabric than I buy, or like de-stash, whatever form that takes. Because I want to buy something and use it pretty immediately, because I've definitely noticed I'm more excited about projects the quicker I do them to when I buy the fabric. So that's, I think, really important in the next year. Next year, this sounds strange. This past year, I think I did like 4 or 5 gowns. My goal next year is only do 2 or 3. I already have those 3 gowns pretty much planned. I'm gonna do like heavily rainbow beaded number, I think, where I'm gonna do a lot of hand beading and it's gonna make me hate my life. Haven't decided exactly what form that's gonna take, but that is one of my goals. Another one is I work downtown Seattle, and Luli Yang is pretty close to my office where she puts in her displays. She's a very, very, very high-end designer, and one year there was a ruffled feather number that caught my eye. I'm linking it down below if you're curious what it looks like. I want to make something like this dress. This dress is $12,000. It's never something I'll buy, and it's also black and white, which is not my thing, so I kind of want to take this dress and like pastelize it, make it more colorful, and make it more me. However, this will probably be the most expensive gown I ever produce because it's going to require probably something like silk taffeta or silk twill or just something kind of more high-end fabric-wise, and it's also going to require yards and yards and yards and yards and yards and yards and yards of ostrich feathers. So with that, it's going to probably be the most expensive piece I ever make, so I'm going to kind of slowly buy supplies throughout the first half of the year and hopefully make it in the second half. And then the last gown that I'm going to make will be for Pride. I bought some bisexual Pride fabric from Silk Baron that is taffeta, and I want to make it into like a fun, pretty gown. I could make it into like a more practical dress, but honestly, I want that thing to be a gown. So those are the hopefully 3 gowns. I would really like to focus this year much more on everyday wear. I want to do more like really fun day dresses, stuff to wear to work, just kind of like normal people stuff, because ultimately I don't live a gown life. I work a 9-to-5 life. So less gowns. I don't need as many. Part of that will also be making pants. I really would like to try to get a good pants pattern down that I really like, because there's a lot of different types of pants I would like to make, like fabric wise, that I just feel like I need one solid pants pattern so I can whip them out. I want to do a couple like scrap busting projects where I'm going to hopefully sew a bunch of my scraps together. I've kept my scraps ever since I started sewing, so I have like 3 years of scraps. I haven't kept the little ones. They have to be basically like bigger than my hand for me to keep them. Obviously, if I had hoarded 3 years of scraps in my apartment, we'd be pretty out of control here. But I would like to try, I want to make I think a couple bags with some scraps. I also just in general would like to make a few sewing projects that aren't clothing related. I really like to make myself like a nice waterproof backpack that's fun. Adult backpacks that are like really functional like that just don't tend to be very fun. So that's one of my plans, and I want to make some rain hats. to protect my hair in the rain, you know, Seattle things. And yeah, maybe some just different bags, or I think a lot of scrap busting projects will be heavily bag or like accessory related. And I would like to make some outfits for spooky. I bought a pattern a really long time ago for this and I've never gotten around to it. So I want that to be in my goals. Spooky is my cat, in case this is your first time here, which this is a very strange video for your first time here, but welcome. I want to only buy polyester secondhand, ideally. It's a little bit iffy because polyester is really useful for linings, but just in general, I would like to buy almost no polyester, and if I do, buy it secondhand. I would also lower my rayon buying to keep that fairly secondhand or dead stock, because rayon is probably the best like substitute for polyester, but it's still really environmentally intensive, and at the end of the day, I guess it technically can decompose better than polyester, but I don't know. It's not a great fabric to use as far as environmental responsibility, but I can't be lining everything in silk. I'm gonna need to line some things in rayon. So it's not completely possible, I feel like, for me to cut out both polyester and rayon, but I would like to cut off both of them as much as possible. So now I guess it's the time to launch my Ko-Fi membership or Patreon membership. I'm gonna do both. The reason I am going to do these is on Ko-Fi, I can do it for $5 a month because there's no fees on my end. On Patreon, it's gonna be $6 a month because they take like 8%, so that's pretty much what it needs to be for me to get that $5. This is a really expensive channel to run, and I talked about that a lot in my last video. Last year I didn't even break even. This year I would really like to break even, so part of that is launching this. And the perks of these, there's only going to be one tier to start. I don't have time to make extra content, and one of the things I would really like to do is not actually paywall any content for my channel. So because of that, I think a $5 a month is fair. So the perks of this is you're going to get your videos early. So I'm going to leave some polls in these two spaces because sometimes I upload like 4 videos in a week and that's all I do for the month. So you might not be getting a video a week and instead be getting them in these spurts. So I'm just kind of curious, like, do you want these like just one a week early? In general, I think I can promise you're gonna get it at least more than 24 hours early, but in a lot of cases you're gonna get it weeks or months early. I am also going to do my future project polls here now. I have been doing those on YouTube, but if people are paying me $5 a month, I think it's only fair that they get a heavier weight in the type of projects that I'm doing. So I'm gonna actually kick this off with a project poll in there for the first part of the year. I'm going to also just do some live updates. So I sew often projects like months in advance of when they actually appear on this channel. So I'm gonna give you like actual sneak peeks behind the scenes of when these things are getting done, and hopefully just be generally like more active and chatty. I will do my best to comment often and reply well in these channels, but I get really overwhelmed in social media really fast. And then lastly, I'm not going to do the YouTube memberships because for me to make the same amount that I make on Ko-Fi or Patreon, I would have to charge you $8, and that just seems like really excessive. And honestly, I don't really want, because Google or YouTube take 30% of that, and I don't think they provide enough support to be deserving of that 30%. I would say I don't generally endorse Google as a company. There's a lot of different concerns I have around Google and the way they do their search results and stuff like that. I just don't really want you guys putting more money into Google to support me or Alphabet or whatever you want to call that company. I don't think they need more money. I actually think Patreon does a much better job of supporting its members, and Ko-Fi is just a much more social good platform in general. So that is why I am choosing to use those two platforms. That is it for that launch. I will have them both linked down below. I will be so thankful for anyone who joins. Right now, I do have 3 of you I know that do monthly. I don't know if you're going to need to manually switch like you do monthly on Ko-Fi right now. You might need to like make sure you're signed up for the subscription and not just a monthly donation. I'm not sure how that works. Please look into it. I'm hoping you watch this video if you're one of those 3 people. Those people have been really awesome, and I want to make sure they get everything as early as possible content-wise. Lastly, my channel goals for the year. So last year, I really wanted to hit 10,000. I just hit like a growth wall for about a month on my channel in October, November-ish. So it it wasn't going to happen that year. So this year I would like to hit 10,000, maybe even a stretch goal of 12,000. Ultimately, the growth I've been really happy with. It's felt very organic and slow and kind of more like a community and less like me going viral and dealing with a lot of unpleasant things. I don't want to grow this channel too fast because this is not supposed to be my main form of income. The quicker you grow, kind of the more likely you are to pick up trolls or people who don't really align with your values and things like that. So I'm okay with my pace of growth, but I would really like to hit 10,000 this year. Another thing I would really like to do, I have some DIY projects I'd like to do that are not sewing related. I don't see them right now taking place of the sewing content, but I do have to kind of negotiate my time in a way because I honestly am feeling a little bit burnt out with doing a sewing video every other week. I don't think it's so much that I'm feeling burnt out from sewing. I think I just need to start doing some more experimenting with the formatting of my content. I think I'm maybe just feeling sick of filming all of the sewing. I don't know. So there might be some experimental with this channel. I don't see any huge changes because ultimately I want this channel to be soothing. I want it to be educational and informational. I'm not looking to do anything too wild. I am looking for ways to keep myself engaged and interested in making content for you guys because the more I'm engaged, the better the content will be, right? I've always said it, this is a channel that is primarily for me. It's for me to experiment with things, keep myself accountable to sewing, keep myself involved in a community and not off in a weird corner. That made no sense. I am feeling a little tired, so there is a chance that maybe I go down to 3 videos a month, and all of those videos are either sewing and DIY, if that's the case. But I do also enjoy the ease that haul content brings, but I'm trying to not haul as much, so I don't know. We're gonna see what we do here. I can tell you the first quarter of the year at least, I'm gonna have a video up every week. I wouldn't see anything changing into the summer, and I'll announce something somewhere if I do end up decreasing my content. This year was the first year I feel I was busy in a way I was pre-pandemic, even though COVID's not over, and I would say I still am more cautious in a lot of things because of it. I guess the algorithm doesn't like when you say that word, but I don't care. I'm figuring out how to balance my life, and my first and foremost goal of this channel is for it to be joyful for me so it can be joyful for you. We've all been there where we've watched our favorite creators keep basically making content to make content, and I don't really ever want to be there. I always want to be intentional about the content I'm making and make sure that I'm happy with it. My only goal financially this year is to break even on crafting costs, and even that is going to be a stretch. I came about $1,000 short last year. That'll be interesting, and I'm talking purely the channel sewing projects that you see here. I am not talking about any of my hauls. I don't expect you guys to be paying for my gunny sacks obsession. I would just love to break even on the crafting projects that I take you guys through because it's so much work. So yeah, that is I guess my financial goal. As far as travel, last year I traveled 11 weeks, which I am very, very thankful that I financially can do that and was able to do that with work, which I was only able to do because I had my sabbatical, which gave me 6 weeks off. However, I will say 11 weeks of travel is too much travel in a year for me. So this year I'm scaling back quite a bit, and I'm going to probably be sitting around 6 weeks of travel, which actually feels really, really good. Some places I'll be traveling just because I would love your recommendations. First and foremost, the trip that I'm doing in the first bit of this year is going to be New York. So please, please, please comment down below who are your favorite fabric shops to visit in New York. I'm going there, I'm excited, but I know there's a lot of fabric shops there, so hit me with your recommendations. I will be staying in Brooklyn because I have friends in Brooklyn. I guess share your vintage recommendations. I know I have a lot of subscribers in New York City. I know you're there. Give me your recommendations. I desperately want them. I'm also going to be going to Cape Cod, which if there's fabric or vintage store recommendations in that area in Boston, hit me up. And then I'm going to be in Minneapolis, Minnesota at some point. Then after that, I'm going to do a tiny stop in St. Louis this year. So both of those places, again, give me your recommendations. I'll come back to this video. I'll check out your recommendations. I'm going to be doing videos on likely all these locations, so you will see that. And then the last stop is I'm going to be going to Pensacola, Florida, as well as New Orleans. So those are kind of my travel plans for the year. It is a good domestic hectic travel plan year. Some of these are family vacations, so I'm footing less of the bill. And in general, I just am going to be here in Seattle a lot more, and I'm really excited for that because that's going to be what lets me tackle some of these bigger gown projects that I've always wanted to do. I just haven't had enough like weekends in a row to do them because last year the most I was in town was I think 4 weeks in a row. I think I got a 6 week in a row in the summer at some point, but otherwise the most I was in a row was 4 weeks. And again, I'm so thankful for all that travel I got to do, but I am good to chill out a little this year. On that note, I want to pre-film enough that I can just take a month off of YouTube and basically like not answer comments, not answer anything, just disappear for a month. I love a lot of things about the internet. I love a lot of things about YouTube, but there are also parts that I don't love and that I would enjoy having a little bit of time off from. Some change in projects. This should have maybe gone in sewing goals. I would like to, at least I think 1 out of 3 projects, I would like to move my living wage around either the US or internationally. If you have suggestions for me on that, again, leave those down below. I'm gonna look at textile production rankings and choose some of those cities. I think I'll also choose just some cities that I can tell I have a lot of subscribers in. So if there's somewhere you're dying for me to try, comment down below. I am gonna still stay in American currency. You can do those conversions pretty easy, which does mean they'll probably date relatively quickly, but because like Seattle, where I do my cost of living out of, is really, really expensive. So I think it would be interesting to actually do some of that cost of living stuff in places where the cost of living is much lower. And also on that, I know that financially it has been tough. It has been weird for most of America, if not the world. So one of my goals is, while I'm talking about like doing this fancy gown that's probably going to cost me over $1,000 to make, I also want to make it a goal that 1 out of 3 projects for me stays under a $50 budget. Ideally, it might have to stretch to $75. We're going to kind of see how it goes, but it's important for me to show you guys that sewing on a budget is possible. I love some of the pieces that I've made on a more of a budget. I want to show you like how you can make things on a budget. I have a lot of thoughts, and I think it's really important, given the financial time we're in, to like show the affordability of sewing. Sewing's never going to be fastest, cheapest way to do anything, to be honest, but I would like to demonstrate some cheaper methods. So look forward to that this year. I'm actually excited for that challenge for myself. The one thing with that challenge is I'm going to see how it goes, I think, for the first half of the year. My only fear with that challenge is I don't want to make things that I don't like. I don't want to make things just because I'm able to find stuff cheap, essentially, because I think that's wasteful. And also a lot of the places that I can get things cheap are secondhand and are limited, and I don't want to take away those resources from other people, if that makes sense. There are so much textiles in the world. However, there are only so many textiles here in Seattle that are affordable. So I have to work on that balance and just do it really, really mindfully. I don't want to do it just to do it. I mean, I would say if there's one theme of this channel, it's that I never want to do anything just to do something. So I'm being very mindful about the way, I go about this 1 out of 3 projects being under $50. And I know $50 is still a lot of money, but I just like reasonably don't see myself being able to stay under that regularly without sacrificing some of the other things I mentioned. And my last thing, I would like to make it a goal to collaborate more with other channels. There's so many really great sewists here on YouTube. I think it would be fun to work with them and maybe like make something off the same theme. My favorite part of being on YouTube has been the community, and I feel like this last year I haven't been as engaged as I would like to in that community. So I am trying to, I think this year, plug back in, do some collabs. If you're a YouTube creator interested in a collab, comment down below. I already have a list of people in my mind. I would love to get to the point where I could be doing a collab a month. I think that might be a bit ambitious, but I think it would be nice. So yeah, we'll just kind of have to see. It's definitely a goal of mine. And also when you talk to other people in the field you're in, it's very like creatively energizing, and I think it'll be really, really fun. That is kind of what's on my mind for my channel this year. I do promise I am so excited. I'm particularly so excited for the 3 gowns I have planned. I have a couple really fun day dresses planned as well. And I have just like lots of ideas percolating back here for projects that I think will just be awesome. This is, I guess, your reminder that yes, I will have launched my Ko-Fi and my Patreon. So if you are interested, definitely get a membership there. Just a reminder that there is not going to be any videos on there that I don't post here. So don't feel that pressure. Don't feel like you're hugely missing out. I know this is me selling things really horribly, but I don't want to sell you something that is financially hard for you. Don't worry about it, but if you do want to support me on that monthly basis, I hugely appreciate it. And that is it for this video. I will see you next week with my first project of the year and then a destash the week after that. So definitely subscribe and stick around if you are interested in those things. And I will see you then. Bye!